In the last tutorial, we were looking at our different projection options. So our planar option, our cylindrical, and our spherical. So when we did a cylindrical projection on this, we were saying that around the sides it was fine, but on the top and bottom, where it wasn't getting any projection information, essentially, the UVs are completely wrong. To alleviate that, what we can actually do is we can use a combination of different projection types to get the best out of our UVs. We do that by actually selecting different faces. So if I go into this, into our object, I'm just in face mode here. And what I can do, I'm just going to drag around our side faces around the entire cylinder, but leaving our top and bottom faces completely off. So this is a cylinder, so we might as well use a cylindrical unwrap on this. So I'm going to use my cylindrical unwrap. I'm just going to go on this. I'm just going to alter the X scaling, bring this in, just to get these so these are more even squares. So something like that. Just eyeballing this. Okay, so I have really nice UVs around the circumference of this cylinder, but our top and our bottom are still wrong. So we need to be able to select those and do a different projection type with those. Just something to note on this, and this is another benefit of using projections. If I click on my move tool, I just move this out of the way. What we've actually got here is we've broken this off in terms of our UVs. This is broken essentially the weld points of each of our UV edges. This hasn't changed anything on our mesh. So this edge here is still welded. So this face is connected to this face. These verts are still a single sets of vertices on there. We've not split anything on our mesh. We've only done this in our UVs. And these are known as UV islands. So if I go into my UVs, I can double click on this and I can actually select that UV island. Similarly, I can go into face mode and double click and select. And we can manipulate this, move this around completely independently. If I just drag around here, we have our other parts of the mesh. And again, these are broken off because we did a cylindrical unwrap on that. We've broken that connection on those UV edges. So making the distinction between our modeling edges and our UV edges. Okay. This gives an advantage really, because if this is a complex model and I want to select this particular UV island, I no longer have to go in and select these faces here on the mesh. I can actually do this by dragging around them or double clicking on them within our UV editor, and that can be a really quick method of selecting parts of our mesh. So within this one, we're going to apply another projection method, but this time, looking at this, we're essentially wanting to create a flat projection. The best one for that is the planar method, and that's probably the one I use the most. So with these faces selected, I'm going to go into my planar and I'm just going to left click on that. This creates a problem. What we're doing here, if you remember when we first did this on the cube in another tutorial, we're creating a projection on this x-axis, just essentially from one side of our mesh. So over here and over at the back, our UVs aren't bad, but still on the top and the bottom of this, we have problems. So we could go in and rotate this. I could find my little T on there and I could actually alter that. So up here, there we have it. I could go into that and I could click on my rotate and I could angle snap that round and bring that round so we have a different projection method on there. But that can be a bit tricky and a bit finicky. So I'm going to do this a different way. Instead of doing that, let's just make sure we have our faces selected again. So just drag around these. What we can do instead is actually apply different projections based on how we click on this button. So if I just have over this, you'll see we have here left mouse button is project using current settings, which is the x-axis by default. Our middle mouse button project using the y-axis, and our right mouse button project using the z-axis. So with this, I wanted to project it downwards onto this face. So this is on the y-axis. So if I just middle mouse click over this, we get a perfect projection onto these set of faces here. You see on that, if I just zoom in on this, all of these really nice and square, exactly what we want from our UV map. Again, just click on move. One of the things to note when we do that is it always creates a projection in this square here. And I'm going to talk more about these tiles in another tutorial. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this to one side, just out of the way. And I'm going to select my other faces here, which are these bomb faces. So let's do the same. Click on this and let's middle mouse click. And there we have our UVs. Okay. So on the top, on the side, and the bottom now, we have perfect UVs. So just by selecting faces, we can actually apply different projection methods onto whatever set of faces you have selected.